Hey guys, welcome back to Fix It Friday. So this week I'm going to be sharing something kind of rare and obscure with you guys, and it's a console that was only released in Japan. And really, this is the kind of stuff I love. I love when I can find something that is poorly documented that you almost never see, that's not working, and then try to get it fixed. So today, what we have is the Casio Loopy. So the Casio Loopy was a video game console that was released only in Japan, and it was primarily marketed to a female audience. So it was intended really for like young girls, like school age and teenage girls. And so the games are kind of marketed that way, the system's kind of marketed that way, but it has some interesting and cool features. So a lot of the games interact with this sticker printer. So you can put sticker paper in here and you interact with it in some way. And depending on what you do, you can print out these cool little stickers in addition to just having some fun gameplay. So this thing did not sell well. There are not too many games released for it. And today we're going to be talking about something that's even more obscure than the Loopy itself, and it's this little add-on right here. This is called the Magical Shop. It's also referred to as the Video Seal Word Processor. So this is like an add-on. As you can see, you can eject it here. And it was meant to be kind of like a permanent attachment that goes onto your Casio Loopy. So it has a game built in, and what I'm going to do now is just kind of show you how it works. And it's broken, and today we're going to see if we can get this thing up and running again. Okay, so I've got the Casio Loopy booted up, and you can see that the Magical Shop has a game built into it and just starts up right away. It's called Magical Shop. And you'll notice that right next to the Loopy, I also have a Super Nintendo Mini right here, and it's got the Star Fox Super Weekend competition cart set in there. And I just picked that because that's probably the rarest game I have in my collection, and it's ridiculous, so why not? So the way that this device works is it can take video from some other source. So in this case, I'm going to take video from the Super Nintendo, and you can use it to make video captures, and you can modify those video captures with like text or graphics or what have you, and then you can print out stickers of that. So it has like a lot of features that are kind of similar to Mario Paint or make me think of Mario Paint, but the fact that it can do video capture is really cool. So I'm going to demonstrate how it's supposed to work, and then we're going to see where it has problems. So you see up there, it says seal. So that's the first option, and that's to do some video capture. So I'm going to just press the A button, and you can do like a whole sequence or just a single capture. So I'm just going to keep things simple and do a single capture. And it says, do you want to do this? And I'm going to say yes. And so now you can see that the Super Nintendo is on, and you can see the Star Fox competition cartridge is running. So now if I hit the A button, it's supposed to generate a still frame of this, which then we can add text to and do a whole bunch of stuff to. So now watch what happens when I hit the button. So you can see it has some kind of sampling error, so it no longer is able to capture images. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take apart the Magical Shop. We're going to figure out what's inside of there because there's literally zero documentation on this thing. And we're going to see what's wrong with it, and maybe we can get it working. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so here's the Magical Shop all by itself. And so you can see it's a pretty simple device. It just has the cartridge connector here, and it's got your composite video inputs over here for capturing. And so, yeah, it looks like there's just a bunch of screws over here. So let's go ahead and open those and see if that's all it takes to get in here. Okay, well, I took out the screws, but this thing is still sealed tight. My assumption is that there's some kind of plastic tab or something that's holding this thing down. So let me go ahead and grab some cell phone opening tools that I have and see if that helps me. All right, so yeah, it does look like they do in fact have like these little snaps, plastic snaps over here. There's three of them, here, here, and here. And so that's what holds everything together. So if you're trying to fix one of these, be mindful of that. All right, so here's the Magical Shop itself. So let's take off the RF shielding and see what's inside. All right, so it looks like the cartridge slot just goes into this right angle connector and comes down. And there's an RF shield in here as well, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And then we'll take a good look at both of these boards and see what's going on. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at the main board here. And, you know, I was really expecting something a little bit more complicated than this, but it's actually rather simple. So, you know, there's just a few ICs on here, and the ones that stand out to me are these two guys over here. These are analog to digital converters. They're LC7480s, I believe. So yeah, there's two of them on the board. And then there's also this Sony CXA1228S, and so this is a video decoder. So all of this probably has, again, me not being an engineer, just kind of making a guess here, but it has to do with just decoding the signals coming in over here and then just mixing that in to whatever the Magical Shop is doing. There's two other small support chips over here, but otherwise, yeah, this is a kind of simple board. I mean, really the biggest thing that stands out to me is that there's a whole bunch of electrolytic capacitors, and everything looks good about them. So, you know, like when I'm doing repairs, I don't just reflexively replace capacitors and expect that's going to fix everything. I normally would try to, you know, do a proper diagnosis of the board. But right now, and this is something, of course, you can't tell on camera, but I can tell because I'm right here, is you can actually smell electrolyte. So when you take this board out, and if you're close to it, at least this particular board, I can smell electrolyte, and that's a clear sign to me that at least one of these caps has probably failed. And, you know, coming to think about it, it makes sense that capacitors might be an issue in this case, because capacitors that were manufactured in the mid-90s, like these, they're known for not necessarily being of good quality. So I have a feeling that at least one or more of these have failed, just by following my own nose and just smelling what I see, you know, can smell here. On the other side, you have a whole bunch of passive components. So you've got a few transistors, you've got some resistors, some ceramic caps, but nothing that I would think is a, you know, candidate for failure. So again, as much as I don't want to just say replace the caps, because that's, you know, overly simplistic, at least my own nose is telling me that maybe the caps are an issue here. Okay, so let's move on to the little board here that connects up to the Casio Loopy. So there's only 3 chips here, so I looked this one up. This is a PLL. This one here is the ROM, so I assume that this is the Magical Shop ROM that's on here. And then we've got a custom Casio chip over here, the RH7502, which I didn't find any information on. So, you know, it's possible that one of these have gone bad, but I don't think it's likely. I really doubt that it's the ROM itself, because the game at least does seem to work up until the point that you're actually trying to capture video. And again, on the back, there's some resistor packs and some tantalum capacitors, some ceramics, but nothing on the back, or really nothing on this cartridge in general, that makes me think there's something wrong with it. I'm more leaning towards there being an issue here, and I'm going to start with the electrolytics. So let's go ahead and just go ahead and replace all of them. There's not that many, and see what that does. Okay, so the pads are all completely cleaned and ready to go. What I can tell you is that when I removed those caps, the smell that I was detecting got even worse. So I'm pretty confident that the caps, at least some of them, were bad. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them. And, you know, this project was a bit spontaneous, so I don't have all of the correct values in a surface mount format. I do have some in a through-hole format, and so for the purposes of just testing this theory and seeing if I can get it to work, I'm going to use some through-holes for now. Later on, when the surface mount parts show up, I'll take these off and I'm going to replace them with surface mount. But for now, this is good enough just to do a test and see if my hypothesis about the surface mount caps is correct. All right, let's go ahead and put these things on. Okay, so as you guys can see, all of the electrolytic capacitors have been replaced. So now I'm going to go ahead and reassemble everything, and we're going to test things out and see if that's all it takes to get this thing working again. All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, so I've got everything mostly reassembled, just enough to test this thing out. So let's see if replacing all of the capacitors did the job and got this thing working. Okay, so like before, we're going to try to make a still image of the Super Nintendo. Let me just turn that on really quick. Okay, so there's the Super Nintendo with the Star Fox competition cart. So let's see if we can actually capture a still image. Aha! Sweet! So it looks like it worked. Let's see if it finishes and it actually saves it. I love this little animation. This is so cool. All right, so it's made a still image of the video coming out of the Super Nintendo. So now that we've done that, we can, I think, make edits to it. So we can add text. So let's add Long Island Retro Gaming. And you can put that in a text box, and I think you can, or there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. You can add little stickers and little custom animations to it. You can rotate the orientation. It's something I still honestly don't even know because, I literally just fixed it right now. So I have to mess around with this thing and see what we can do with it. And so let me just play around with it a little bit, and then I'll come back and see if I can figure out how to maybe print out a sticker. Okay, so I think this option here is the option to make a sticker. So let's go ahead and push it, see what happens. Of course, I can't speak Japanese, so I'm just going to do my best here. It's working. Oh, cool. All right. Now, I don't know if this Casio Loopy actually has good printing paper, so we'll just see what happens while it makes it. But you can hear it going. Let me see if I can zoom out and show you guys what it's doing here. I think it's done. Whoa, cool. That is so cool. Let me see if I can figure out how to take this thing out. I'm not really sure. I've never tried this before, so I have no clue what I'm doing here. Wow. Okay, so it made a little sticker of what I had captured from my Super Nintendo. So yeah, this is a really cool, basically unknown accessory for the Casio Loopy, and it really lets you do a lot of cool stuff. Like, I mean, I could imagine just having a lot of fun with this thing where you could make home movies, then make captures and add ridiculous stuff into it and then print it out. Like, there's kind of all sorts of absurdities and ridiculousness that you can do with this. So yeah, I'm really glad to say that it was a relatively simple fix. And again, this thing isn't really that known in the West and not even known really well in Japan either. And I haven't found any kind of documented fixes on how to get this thing repaired. So I think, at least now this is out there. So anybody who owns one of these rare accessories can now hopefully get theirs up and running again. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this video. If you guys like this kind of content, then consider subscribing to the channel. I have videos out like this every Friday. And then, of course, if you've got consoles that you need repaired or modified, you can also reach me directly at oneuprestorations.com. Okay, thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time.